Hi, my name is Usman Khan and I'd like to welcome you to this presentation of the board meeting outcomes for Team C. Our board consisted of 5 members, and today each of us will take some time to explain the outcomes from the 4 board meetings that our team enjoyed. I'll cover off the opening and the agenda setting, and then Dwanit will take you through the outcomes from board meeting 1, in which we discussed our initial ideas. Matthew will then take us through board meeting 2, in which we discussed how we were going to hypothesise and test our ideas. Julie will talk to us about board meeting 3, in which we came back and we explained some of the learnings that we gained from our testing, and Nathan will round things off with a clear indication of next steps. I'd now like to hand over to Dwanit, who will cover off board meeting 1.
Hello all, I Dwanit, but along with my fellow team members Usman, Julie, Nathan and Matthew, welcome you all to our board meetings on value proposition. In our first board meeting, we discussed each team member's startup idea. Discussing first will be Nathan's Your Local Jobs. Nathan's startup whereby he is creating an app to help kids dropping out from school, which ultimately leads to youth unemployment. Youth unemployment is on the rise and finding employment opportunities are compounded lack of experience, skills, and the inability to find a good fit. Nathan's app will assist young people to fill in for absent, unskilled staff, which will help these young kids to develop necessary building blocks that they need to advance their career. Dwanit's Safe City startup is a software application that can help in stopping crime before it happens. The software application developed using biometrics performs facial recognition and behavior detection of people, thereby detecting any criminal activity as it happens, allowing patrons to quickly send an SOS to security agencies. Julie's startup idea is a homeless hotel project whereby homeless are provided accommodation and training to help them move into long-term employment and accommodation. Usman's startup idea, Newsy, is a consolidated news content platform which could act to give users access to all news content for one simple usage fee. The business would be set up along with the same lines as Netflix or Spotify. Met's startup idea, Mentoro, revolves around increasing employee engagement by providing a tool set which assists companies in establishing mentor-mentee relationships. It will provide recommended mentor-mentee matches and tools to keep the partnership evolving.
Thanks, Dwanit. To test Nathan's idea, he conducted a series of tests which included supply, demand, and revenue aspects of the Your Local Jobs concept. It was hypothesized that both the youth and employer would engage in the application services. It was also tested if payment could be received by the employer or the employee, and whether the application could be built. Dwanit conducted severe testing on key stakeholders for his Safe City idea, such as government, council, private entity, and the general public. It was thoroughly tested on how this could be a 50-50 government-private joint venture. It was hypothesized during the process that general public and key investors would be equally interested in this concept. Julie hypothesized that there was a gap in the employment market for the homeless and identified 5 key stakeholders: welfare organizations, job-active agencies, training organizations, hotel chains, and the homeless. The homeless hotel project proposition revolves around funding and incentive packages. Usman highlighted 2 key stakeholders that would need to be engaged in order for the Newsy concept to work: end users and publisher partners who provide content. For users, the hypotheses revolved around usability and personalization, while for content providers, they revolved around the protection of the individual brands and revenue. And for my idea, Mentoro, the key was to look at the assumptions made for the original idea and turn these into hypotheses. This uncovered 3 key assumptions, namely, employees don't feel engaged at work, being a mentor-mentee would create this engagement, and that these companies would have an existing HRM system. Next up is Julie with the summary of our results from these hypotheses as we discussed in board meeting 3.
Thanks, Matthew. This is a summary of our results for board meeting 3. Nathan tested his Your Local Jobs hypothesis, and it is understood that both youth and employers will engage the system to fill absent unskilled staff. Employers will not pay the additional 5% for the services, but employees will pay. The application can be developed with school principals, facilitating pre-employment training and promotion in their schools. The key learnings of Dwanit's City testing was that the general public is very keen on the concept and wants the government to keep security as a top priority. However, getting the funding from the government is very laborious and time-consuming, which could delay the launch of the startup. Private investors are very interested in the concept and are keen to invest in the project, but they want guaranteed returns on their investments. The key learning to come out of researching the homeless hotel project was that hotels and hotel chains would only be interested if they were guaranteed the cost of housing and employing the individuals, whereas the other key stakeholders were keen to see it eventualise. The second key learning was that initiatives like this could be funded and invested into by the Social Impact Ventures Scheme. The two major learnings to come out of Usman's Newsy research phase were that publishers raised concern around how their respective content would be represented, and consumers said that while the idea is interesting, they would not want Newsy too personalised or curated. Matthew's key learnings for Mentoro are that not all companies have HRM systems, especially those with less than 1,000 employees company-wide. Secondly, that mentoring is currently not actively engaged in on a wide scale in the workforce. We identified gaps in our startups, including our quantitative data being very small, and that none of us had looked at the legal ramifications of our startups.
Thank you, Julie. With the initial concepts being discussed, tested, and analysed, the next steps are as follows. Nathan needs to investigate costing the development of the youth jobs application, costing pre-employment training, and outlining what resources are needed to prepare youth to work in different environments. Further investigation will be needed to be conducted into minimum wage laws. Duanet needs to drop the idea on government funding and focus on making Safe City a product that can be used by private enterprise. The financial model needs to be properly designed so that investors can see good returns on their investments. In addition, next steps should be more engagement with local council and local businesses. Julie will need to look at the expected financial costs associated with running her project and the revenue associated with the incentives from third-party stakeholders. An eligibility criteria will need to be established and referral process and procedures drafted. Usman must ensure that the value proposition is expanded to include the value for publisher partners rather than just end users. As their buy-in is essential, Newsy needs to be viewed through the lens of publisher partners to ensure it is an attractive proposition. Matthew will need to look at the different alternatives available for small companies who do not have existing HRM systems. And further research is required to find out if creating a standalone version would include this group, or would they be willing to partner with other companies to provide intercompany mentor-mentee relationships.
Thanks, Nathan. I'd just like to wrap things up by saying that our board found this to be a very rewarding process. Our diverse backgrounds helped with a lot of shared knowledge and rich insight. We were very clear on the next steps that need to be implemented to bring our ideas or take our ideas to the next level, and the robust interrogation proved to be both challenging and enjoyable. We look forward to pushing our ideas even further and look forward to our next presentation to you.